You're looking much better, sir.
Say again?
You're looking much better. It not in like, okay, in appearance, it is just energy.
Yeah,
It feels.
Okay, okay, here we go. Okay,
Yes.
we are live. We are live.
I'm hearing something in your background.
That was us talking.
I'm hearing something in your background. Why it is coming back?
Go, we are live, Beena. Don't worry about
Okay.
this stuff. Just go.
Okay. Hello and good morning. Welcome to Moreness-Culture. We had some misunderstanding. It was my fault. I was trying to fix something. Anyway, how are you, Syl?
Very good. Very good. As you were saying.
Yes.
You were saying.
Yes. I was just
I don't know why it's. We're hearing the sound now. I don't know.
Yes. Yes. This is what I was mentioning, that we are having echo.
Yeah, I'll stop it in a moment. I don't know what's going on. I don't have sound there.
Welcome to Moreness-Culture Green. Thank you for being here. Okay, beside this, while Syl is fixing all these things, I was just thinking about making things your own and making it your way of being. It's a big deal. Kind of like people just assume, okay, I was also guilty of that. Okay, I was just, yes, it's a way of being. It is going to happen at some point in the life, but we can acquire it and we can have it, and they're amazing, like really unimaginable benefits, and moreness comes with when you acquire things and make it your own. Then you don't need to prepare for anything. Your everyday life become like an ideal life, your dream life you think about. People say that, oh, it's all bookish things you are sharing and all these things. Whenever they hear, not for us, but I have seen many people making comments on other people's things that, oh yes, it's too idealistic, it is too bookish, it's not, it's unreal. It is unreal, it is bookish, it is too idealistic because we are not making it our own. We are assuming that we can just say nice things, good things, but we cannot do this. This is so, I don't know how to say that, but it is very interesting for me that when we admire something, why not make it our own? And why I'm sharing this, because I have this opportunity, I have this really amazing opportunity to witness something when someone who not only just say or share things, he live every single moment exactly like what he's saying and sharing. And I have never seen anyone else who doesn't need a preparation for something special. Some technical preparation, always. But other than that, he's always Syl. So what you are going to see today there, because Syl is going to share the podcast he's doing with Jill Nicolini, a celebrity interviewer, and he's getting interviewed by her, which is very interesting. But of course, it is very short for Syl and for us, because he has so much to share, and every subject, every topic, whenever he share, it's a lot of detail and nuance there. How can you just compress it in such a tiny frame of time? But okay, yes, as appropriate, he's doing that, and you will see him. I feel so surprised. Okay, every single time when I pay attention to this, he is exactly like what he is on camera, what is off camera, when he is talking to me, when he's talking to other friends, when he's talking on TV, every single time what he's talking or writing in his books. Not a single difference, not a single, not tiny bit. I never experienced that. And this is what make it your own actually is. This is what making your way of being what you really wish for. This is his way of being. That's why he never need need to be prepared for something. He's always prepared. And of course, I said something. Okay, it was just kind of a quote I shared on my timeline on Facebook. If you need to prepare, you are not prepared. It's like, duh, of course. But when we think of it again, like, okay, think twice, read it again. If you need to prepare, you're not prepared. We assume that, oh, I'm prepared, but I'm just doing this. It means we are not prepared. We need to make it our own because we can memorize things. We can talk about things. But still, when a special moment will come, we have to prepare it again. Why? Because it was not our own. We were not making it our own. And that's the thing we need to pay attention to. Whatever we are talking about, saying we means in general everyone. Whatever we are reading and find it valuable, by implementing in our life, we can make it our own. And then we can live a life which seemed too idealistic, too unreal, too bookish for other people. I have seen this. I'm trying to, I'm on my path to live like that. This is something truly amazing. And today we are going to watch a recording of his interview by Jill Nicolini. And we will see that you will not find a single difference. I'm sure he's exactly who he is, always. Syl, I hope that you have done all your preparation of technical stuff. Yes. Okay. So then we can start sharing screen, and then we will see.
Yes.
And then of course we will come back and discuss about these things.
No.
Or you can pause and then we'll discuss in between.
Yeah. I want to just check real quick and see. Okay, no one on Instagram to say hello to. But hello, everybody on IG and on YouTube. If anybody is watching on the YouTube live, because we are live on YouTube and Instagram as well as on Facebook. It's just very cool.
Yes.
It's very cool indeed. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. All right, we've got everything going here. What we're going to continue with our reading of Carlos and Don Juan. Well, Don Juan, written by Carlos Castaneda, but we're really reading Don Juan. Carlos, like especially in the beginning, in this first book, he's got a lot of focus on the power plants and goes into detail about it, and it's useless. We can't use it, so it's of no interest to us, right? And I don't want to confuse that. Even though we're reading it all, it doesn't mean we're reading it because it's of importance to us. It's not really. It's interesting, but it's of no importance, right? It's the things in between that are of importance. And the last time we missed yesterday. We got so involved in what we were doing. By the time we were finished, I said, "What's the time?" Oh, it's 11:30 or something. So we just completely spaced on it there. But yesterday, but oh well, as appropriate. So we'll do the readings. We'll try and come every day, but if we can't, we can't. So we were busy with the 4 enemies of a man of knowledge, or as we say, rather, a person of knowledge. But now, Beena was talking about the interview that I do. It's an interview series, right? I mean, we've done 15 so far, and there's another half dozen or so coming on PBN network with Jill interviewing me, right? And every week, different topic, of course. But typically we go into. She wants to know what I'm about, what I'm doing, etc. So literally, right before that, we were talking with the producer of the TV show we're going to do, which I announced it in the program, so I'll just skip announcing it twice. But I want to watch the interview because it does connect very much to what we are doing in these readings. Because in the interview, I share the Way of Impeccability mind map. And this gives an indication of the depth underlying everything that we do. Yes, it's a mind map I put together of Way of Impeccability, and it really illustrates the A+ philosophy as well as specifically its application in Way of Impeccability. Right? So the A+ philosophy, or the philosophy of appropriateness, that's the depth underlying, but it's practical philosophy, as Beena was saying. And this is the difference. I'm not a philosopher. No, I'm a practical psychological philosopher. Yes, I'm also a psychologer, which means someone who creates psychology, right? So this, I don't know, maybe the term can be combined somewhere because to me they both go together. You can't really separate philosophy and psychology, and you can definitely not separate either of those two from application because this is also one of the first quote that we pulled from Don Juan, right? What's the value of knowledge that's useless, right? You need to have useful knowledge, not just useful, but usable.
Mm.
It's a major distinction. Don Juan doesn't make that distinction, but I do. And this is what I do, right? And Beena is now assisting Beena. So what we do, we take things further. Because look, yes, you might say, wow, that's very useful knowledge. All right, look at the knowledge that Don Carlos is sharing about all the steps going through of taking the power plants. You could argue, well, that's very useful but it's not usable. Yes, it might be useful, but not usable because he doesn't have all the steps. And if you're just missing one or two, then you can't do it. Plus, much of it relies on Don Juan specifically, therefore not usable. Right, Beena?
Yes.
Big difference, right? Big difference.
Yes.
So this is a crucial difference to understand. Not only must knowledge be useful, but usable. And this has been my focus, and particularly with putting together the programs. The programs like Way of Impeccability, Calculates Hearing, Psychology of Superiority Paradigm, etc. Those programs and what I've developed this a whole little mini program on how to take these programs. Why? Because that's about usability. Of course, the information is useful, but if you don't have a way to make it usable, and if it's not usable to the participant, it's never going to be there. So that's the whole focus. That's why habits such a big deal. Habits prevent usability in many cases, inhibit and restrict and restrain usability. So this is key, and all the things, the repeatbacks, the takeaways, the tasks and exercises, all of the tools, the mechanisms that we use, the changing of self-conception, etc. All of this, it's always related to usability. Usefulness is taken for granted, but usability, that's a whole different thing. Right? And this you almost never see. I've never ever seen anywhere anybody ever talk about usability, even Don Juan. Right? It's very important. Very, very important. I think if Don Juan had been a little bit more focused on whether this is usable for Carlos rather than useful, he would have shifted his communication in a profound way. Because Carlos, for many of the things, he recognizes the usefulness, but he's unable to make it usable. He can't translate it into his way of thinking, into his way of being. And this is too with attunement, how the whole philosophy of attunement comes, and particularly anomalies. Somebody was commenting and saying, well, they prefer omens to anomalies. But there's a massive difference between omens and anomalies. Omens are, you have to study omens, you have to learn this, you have to know what they're supposed to mean, and then hopefully it works out for you. It's a predefined thing. Anomalies you interpret in the moment. And when you understand it all, I'm not going to go into it, it's a long thing, but when you understand it, it is usable, where omens aren't particularly usable unless you really study it. And even then, it's so much variation, and it's just not usable. Sorry. Right? I mean, I spent years making an effort to make omens usable because I started living in attunement or living according to the omens, at least as best I understood it, but it wasn't working. And so I had to figure out for myself and find something that works, right? And I see this with others too. Omens is not a particularly usable thing. But anyway, that's a subject for another time. So what I want to do is to share and go watch the interview. It's only half an hour long. Now you say, how does this connect to the Don Juan books? It connects because it shows the depth of what it is that we are doing, right? coming from way of impeccability perspective, and what Beena and I are in general doing every single day, which is not just the application, the using of the A plus philosophy, the using of way of impeccability, the using of capital H hearing, the using of the understanding of the psychology of the superiority paradigm, implementing Moreness culture. This is what we're doing. We're living Moreness culture, right? Moreness-Living, Moreness culture. It's the same term, right? It's synonymous. And this interview shows this mind map, because I suspect that just judging from Jill's reaction, yes, I'm sharing a tremendous amount of things, but this mind map makes it visual, and this is crucial, right? Where you can see at a glance the depth of what we are talking about, right? And it's not just, you can see also this is not available anywhere else, right? And yes, many of the things overlap with everybody because all knowledge overlaps, but nowhere have you ever seen what I'm about to share, right? It doesn't exist, okay? At least not in this, of this information, at least not as far as I'm aware. I mean, it may, I don't want to say it doesn't entirely. There's always a chance that somebody has something similar, always you find, but not as far as I'm aware, right? And it's very powerful, as you'll see. It's a big deal. All right, so here we go, and we're going to screen share, and we're going to go right into watching this. Any comments before we start, Beena?
So please continue, because this is something I'm very excited to know, and also that the connection you made. Now I want to pay more attention to this. So please.
Right. So I'm sharing this as part of our reading of Don Juan and Carlos, because it shows that we are coming at this not as students. We're not coming into this as students. We're coming into this as practitioners, which is a very different thing. Not only practitioners of what Don Juan is sharing, but practitioners of more also. We've taken what Don Juan shares and we've gone further. Not in the power plants aspect, because that's not a part of our reality. We don't have access to this. So we're saying no. And not everybody has either. And not only, well, I suppose technically you could say, well, if you make an effort, you could have access to it. But there's a cost to power plants. Physical cost, mental cost, psychological cost, emotional cost, right? Yes, the experience is valuable, but it comes at a price. We are looking to get where we need to go without needing to do that. Right? And later in the books, there's a deeper explanation of why this is. So we have a path that anybody can follow, right? Without having to do things like that. And this is what we share. All right, so here we go. Oh, 1 second. 1 second. You know what? I have to unshare again, and I have to put the sound on. Otherwise, we won't hear it. Right, Beena? You didn't hear anything, right? So let me go back. The sound doesn't automatically play when you. So when you share, you have to say share the sound as well.
Oh yes.
Share, and there we go. Share sound, optimize the video clip, and share. You have to say. So this is the episode 15, as you can see there. And there we go. Share sound, optimize. But yeah, it is Wednesdays, the most recent. Alright, say. So this is the episode 15, as you can see there. There we go. Share sound.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So this is
Nobelia.org. That is the website you have to check out. Syl Sabastian, our founder and broadcasting from the business capital of the world. This is the Podcast Business Programs. He's also an author, a poet, and so much more, dedicating his life to that is the website you have to check out. Hi, how are you? Our founder and broadcasting from the business capital of the world. This is the Podcast Business Programs. He's also an author, a poet, and so much more, dedicating and these are life-changing programs to help you really check out. Hi, how are you?
We're just talking about the world. I'm still getting a double sound here. Sharing.
It was a lot of A lot of noise.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so it wasn't sharing the clip. I don't know where this other sound is coming from. I'm hearing 2 or 3 things, so, and I can't figure out where from.
Yes. Still it is coming.
Yeah, yeah, it's very weird. I don't know where from. Let's see. Yeah. Maybe I was in another place. Oh, it's not from here. Okay, let's try. Yeah. I'm playing here. No, it shouldn't be. I know sometimes, on YouTube, the window's open or something, you know what I mean? And it's just playing there in the background. Configure it. I mean, yeah, the sound is off. Sometimes, it's not from here. From here. In a TikTok, and I think I'm logged out, so it should be there. Yeah, this is our live video. Well, maybe it was this. Normally this doesn't have the sound activated, but this is IG. So hello Lubna and hello Esid. Very good. Hello Lubna. Hello. I hope you're well. Lubna. I hope you're well. And where's Tushkatari? I haven't seen Tushkatari. So I didn't see her last time either. What happened to Tushkatari? Anyway, I know Lubna and Tushkatari are friends. Now, I teased Tushka, well, not Tushka a little bit, but she's Tushka Tariq. But when you read it on there, the Q is kind of separate. So then it reads as Tushkatari. That's one word. This sounds cool too, right? Tushkatari. And as a funness too. All right, so that's where the sound was coming from. Brilliant. Let's get back to, I'm going to start the video again so we can hear it properly. That was a mess. Right, Beena? That was no good. So tell me, Beena, or at least tell me if you can't hear properly, right? And interrupt me and I'll stop and pause. I want to make sure that the volume and everything is okay.
Yes.
Yes?
Okay.
I mean, was it, well, so if it's not good, then say so. If it's good, then we'll just watch. All right, here we go. Sharing, and the sound is on. Yeah.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Nobelia.org. That is the website you have to check out. Syl Sabastian, our founder and creator of the site, the Way-of-Impeccability and Moreness Project, life-changing programs. He's also an author, a poet, and so much more, dedicating his life to helping people with moreness. Hi, how are you?
Yes. Brilliant. We were just talking about moreness and Moreness-Culture, because that's what I'm all about. Sharing Moreness-Culture.
And these are life-changing programs to help people really change themselves, right?
Absolutely. And I'm going to share something very powerful with that. It's just a quick announcement that I'm going to be doing a TV show on Bold Brave TV, and it goes on all different platforms. And it's going to be the Moreness Show or the Moreness-Culture Show. We're working on the name. So this is, you're familiar, you know them. So that's why I was just talking about you. They said, yeah, so this is very cool.
Oh my goodness, you are worldwide. Excited to have you here, really. Oh my gosh, congrats on the show. Congrats on everything. And clearly you're helping people live, as you say, deliberately, according to you. Tell us what you're all about. Go for it.
Exactly. Actually, I'm going to share something with you. It's a mind map that I made. Now, this living deliberately, this comes from one of the life-change and self-change programs, the core one, the main one, the basic, the fundamental, and it's called Way of Impeccability. Our Way of Impeccability, obviously, by just the name, you can get an idea of what it's all about. But it's a toolbox for deliberate living. And deliberate living is a whole different mindset, because you have to enhance your awareness, you have to raise your awareness, you have to have, learn internally to be focused and be disciplined and be thorough and all the things that come with impeccability. Now, it's also about living in attunement. I'm going to show you this because the way of impeccability and everything that I do has got an underlying philosophy behind it. I say, well, the philosophy, everybody's got a philosophy. Every country singer's got a philosophy.
Absolutely.
But in this case, there's a lot more to it. Now, I realize that many of you on the podcast aren't going to see the visual, but maybe then, make an effort to see it. But I'll describe it as best I can without needing to see it, but Jill, you'll see it, and those that are watching on where we are sharing on the TV, right, on the visual. So here's a mind map that I made specifically as it connects to way of impeccability. Now, there's a lot more to the A+ philosophy, but I'll show you now in a moment why it's called the A+ philosophy also. Right?
Oh my goodness!
And now, am I sharing? There we go. Right, so now you see there's a lot here, but I'll zoom in and we'll see a little bit. So let me zoom in and I'll go to the top of it here. Now this is the core.
Okay.
The core of the root concept is appropriateness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see the size of it, right? See, appropriateness is the biggest rectangle here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Attunement and awareness and application. It all joins together, you see? It all links. And then you've got, with awareness, you've got, all that's connected to awareness. You've got attention, appreciation, the abstract, and in attention, you got to learn to train your brain. Self-quoting, this is all part of way of impeccability. Like there's a whole session on self-quoting, and self-quoting is an incredibly powerful thing. I'm just zooming in on one.
Wait, what is self-quoting exactly? Just explain that to me.
Yes, exactly. So self-quoting is when you learn to quote yourself in quotable format. And this is like, I'll give you an example. I have it right here. I've got a quote file that I've made, and let's see, it's fine. All right, so here's a quote that I made. The job is not to convince, but to provide options. And this is a quote that, you can quote me on. And I didn't even put my name, because usually I assign these quotes to characters in my books, and then I'll at some point use it in one of the books. But still, most coaches, for instance, they think their job is to convince, but it's not. And actually, I was talking to a parent, and this applies to parents. Your job is not to convince, but to provide options. If you provide options and you provide depth to the options, and you say why and consequence and implication, now whoever's thinking about that, if you fully understand all of the consequences and the implications and what comes from your choice, you can't choose foolish choices, right? But if you convince somebody, they basically now going to be doing whatever they're doing because they trust you. Yeah. But if you're mistaken and then you collapse your entire authority, because you can be wrong on one thing. But when you present options, you never lose that, because your trust is based on sharing options, not in convincing people. Right? But we tend to think that when you're in authority, you must convince. And this is being a parent, being a teacher, being a coach, etc. No, the job is not to convince, but to provide options. Now, so this is a quote, and it's something that I said to somebody. But the self-quoting comes from training your mind to think in a quotable way. Why? Because what is a quote? If we go into it now, you're asking quite a big question here, because there's a whole session on this in way of impeccability, but I'll condense it as much as I can. A quote has got particular characteristics to it. It's concise for one, it's memorable for another, and really good quotes are also kind of poetic in a way, right? So we want to sort of train our brain to be thinking that way. And to think that way, if we look back on the side screen here under awareness, we had attention.
Awareness, I'm looking in red, abstract.
Right. And then appreciation, right? This all is part of awareness, because you can be paying attention, and also you need to look at abstract connects to all three, right? Now, in a quote, in most really good quotes, you are going to be connecting to the abstract in some way, because you're going to come at things from the top down. You're getting to the root, the essence, which is when you abstract things, you're pulling out the essence, you're pulling out what really matters. You aren't quoting about something very specific and very detailed. For instance, I'm not talking about, what you need to say at your 6-year-old's birthday or something, right? That's a very precise thing maybe. Or, when some life transformative event, first boyfriend or whatever, right? But those are very precise. But when you look at the abstract, you say, well, I want to share what's important. I want to share what matters. I want to connect to the bigger picture. I want to connect to who you are, to what matters in your life, what's important, etc. So the abstract is always the key. So when we understand this and we start to think this way, it makes it very easy for us to get to what actually matters and what's important and zoom in on things, right? And so this whole idea of self-quoting is to say that I don't want to be quoting other people, because as long as I'm quoting other people, quoting Einstein or Gandhi or whoever you people are quoting, right? I mean, Einstein has got so many quotes attributed to him. I don't think he said a fraction of those, but nonetheless. But when you learn to quote yourself, you become your own authority in your life. And how can it be any other way?
Yeah.
It cannot, because as long as you're quoting others, you're living their lives. When you start to quote yourself, you're now living your life, right? And you become your own authority. You always are your own authority, but we don't think so. And that's a very, very negative space to be in. When you're in a space where you're doubting yourself and you don't have confidence in yourself, you don't have trust in yourself, you're not living deliberately, right? So therefore, you're never fully you. And of course, you're now living a half life, a partial life. But when you learn to self-quote, you're not only learning how to think, to be, to feel, you're learning how to condense, you're learning how to connect to the abstract, you're learning how to connect to what's important, to what matters. And you can communicate, you can share it. Now you're in a whole different world, right? So while I'm talking here, I'll just kind of scroll down and you can see it's just tons of these quotes. I have lots of them. Now, I just write them down. Sometimes I'll come back and I'll refine them and, and go into it in more detail. But, once your brain starts, and when we understand this, right, we've got awareness, we've got attention and conscious and deliberate. It's also about emphasis. And emphasis is absolutely crucial. Let me get out of screen share here so I can talk about it. Because self-quoting, you are learning to emphasize your own sensibility. And you are learning to train yourself to be sensible and to be able to really be able to condense what matters to you and put it into a usable format. Now, what does emphasis do? Emphasis is a superpower, and it's the most incredible thing, because emphasis literally rewires your brain. I'm pretty sure we've spoken about this on previous shows, but it's always worth repeating. Emphasis literally changes the brain wiring. I mean, literally. Like when you emphasize something, it takes the node that is connected to, like a node is where stuff is stored, right? And then you got the wiring that connects nodes, and that's how everything works. Much like my mind map, right? You can, those big ones are nodes, and then you got all the connections. But it literally grows that node. So now that and connects the wiring, strengthens the wiring from that node to the other nodes. That's why when something is really important, like you remember when your first child was born, right? You can tell me every detail about it, right, Jill? I'm sure. Yes, or most mothers can, right?
Totally.
They can say every single detail. Or like 9/11. Ask people where they were on 9/11. They can all tell you. But ask them where they were on 9/12 or 9/10, and they're like, no idea.
No.
I don't know what I was doing the day before. I have no clue.
No,
But
but
they
that
remember
day
exactly.
of. Exactly.
Right, exactly.
Well, for example, the other day when former President Trump got shot 2 weeks ago, everyone's going to remember where they were. Do you know where you were? That's like a big thing.
Right. Yeah. So it's anything that is emphasized and has importance to you changes your brain, right? And now you connected to that. So now when we start to quote ourselves, we are emphasizing our own sensibility, our own strength, what matters to us, what's of value to us. And that's what you want. You want to live your life, not somebody else's life. But also, the more you're quoting yourself, and especially if you make a quote file, and this goes hand in hand with the dictionary of power, And dictionary of power is something separate to the quotes, but they work together. But when you start to quote yourself, you end up with this collection, this pile of things that are of importance to you or matter to you. And you start to realize, wow, you know what? I've actually got a view of the world. I have my own philosophy. This is what's important to me. This is what matters. And then you go to your dictionary of power, and all of those concepts on the mind map. Let me go back to screen sharing. These are all in the dictionary of power. Now, the dictionary of power comes from Way-of-Impeccability. There's a whole session on it, and it's something that you do. You know, it's one of the unique things that I bring in Way-of-Impeccability. One of the radical technologies or disruptive technologies, as they call it in the tech industry. Right? But it's important. So appropriateness, we put that in dictionary of power. Attunement. And so your dictionary of power is where you put the term, the concept, and the broad abstract concept, right? And why? Because attunement is a power term. When you really understand what attunement is, and that's a whole show. I mean, next week I'll talk about attunement. But when you really understand what attunement is and you start to live via attunement, this is life transformative. And in self-quoting, right? See, that goes in the dictionary of power as well. Train the brain, which is emphasis, goes in the dictionary of power. Or emphasis is the better term to put in there. The core term, attention, application, self-conception. When you start to see these terms have power, they change your life. Perspective shifting, oh my goodness. You know, to perspective shift and learn to be able to perspective shift. This is incredibly transformative because we typically just see things one way and then we only see the opposite. Yeah, man, it's like seeing life in black and white only. You miss out on all the glorious colors. So perspective shifting is perspective shifting to multiple perspectives. You see the little term next to it there. Perspective shifting is a magic wand, and it gives you full comprehension. See, like a little, those, you know, the connected terms next door to this, it just fleshes out a little bit what perspective shifting means. Because when you only look at something from one angle, that's all you see. But when you learn to see it all the angles, right, 360, up, down, every which way, you now have full comprehension. And also, like I used this example before on the show, if you want to understand the floor plan of a house, but you only get to looking from the outside through the windows, if you look through one window, unless it's a very tiny house, I guess with the popularity of tiny houses, that would apply. But a typical house, you won't be able to understand the floor plan just by looking through one window. But at the same time, you don't have to look through all the windows to know the floor plan. You just have to see through enough. And that's what perspective shifting does. It's looking at things through the windows sometimes. Now, sometimes you can go inside, of course, but when you can't, and you're looking at things kind of from the outside, but at some point, your brain can put together from different angles. It can put it all together and create that floor plan, right? And our brain has this ability. So now, when you just look at one perspective, you don't have enough information to put together that floor plan, right? Or the deeper meaning, the greater connection, the extra that's there, the moreness that's there. But when you have multiple perspectives, when you put enough of them together, suddenly it clicks and falls into place. And then you connect to moreness. See? And this is why perspective shifting is so huge when it comes to Moreness-Culture, right? And this is all part of Moreness-Culture. And of course, thinking things through to the end, because then you have that likewise. You get the whole, you get to connect to the whole that's greater than the sum of the parts. And much as this mind map, this is all parts, but when you put it all together as a mind map, it becomes quite profound. And you see, like when we look at there, this can be like the head, the top here, and all the different things. And you got the heart, which is your character, and then all the things that relate to, you know, if we go zoom in a bit here where the character is, you see, you've got
How did you
character
come up with
and you've
all
got
this?
ways of being.
Well, I can't read it. I'm like, wait, hold on. Ways of being, attitude. Wow.
Right,
Look at
right.
this sheet.
So, you know, attitude. So
this is
each
impressive.
one is, you've got attitudes. See the lines go. See, you got moods and you got all different moods. You got mindsets, you got attributes, perspectives, core characteristics. Now, this is all stuff we go through in detail, you see. Earnestness, eagerness, unwanting. I got eagerness twice. Modesty. Yeah, you know, when I made the software, it's no longer available, so I couldn't go back and edit it. But, you know, eagerness is a very potent thing to have. Anyway, so it's all different ways of living, ways of being. and then it goes down. It's like your heart over here, and then you go down to your roots, right? If you, at the bottom, if you think of it like as the head and the heart and the roots, and we get to at the end, yes, it all funnels down, and it goes into power and more. Now, power, obviously, I mean it. Power as in the ability to apply energy, not power as in dominance and having that power. That's nonsense power, and that's corruptive power. You know, the power that we generally think of. No, real power is ability. Real power is competence. Real power is in independence of being. This is the point of Moreness-Culture, is to get to independence of being. The point of Way-of-Impeccability is to end up with having independence of being, right? Which means you are self-contained. And I don't mean financially and all that, no, because you're not an island. I mean psychologically, emotionally, right? For instance, if you have independence of being, you cannot be insulted or offended. It's not possible. And I'm not, and anything that if you say nasty and horrible things about me, I'm not going to be all bent out of shape, because I know they're not true. And if they are true, I'll change. It's very simple. So independence of being means I'm not affected by silly things, superfluous things, nonsense things, surface things, right? And it's very, very powerful. So there's a lot to it. You see independence of being down the bottom here. It's all part of, magic in, not in the sense of like woo-woo magic or Harry Potter magic, but the magic that we have in just the magic of being alive. Existence, life is magical because it happens and we don't know how. And that's, to me, what magic is. When you're getting moreness, when you get something that you can't. Yeah. Right. So there's lots of magic. I mean, your cell phone is magical, right? So magic, and when we really start to live in attunement, magic comes all the time. You have incredible things happen that you cannot explain, that are just like so synchronous, so awesome, so fantastic, so at the right timing. It just, you live in a whole incredible deal. Then we get to fluid reality. Oh, I could do a whole show just on fluid reality. Right? This is a, and so how I came up with this is a lifetime of thinking about things, right? That term fluid reality, it's something that it's a term I've coined. It's, I mean, I don't, not all the terms necessarily original to me, but sometimes you need to create a term to describe what's happened. And fluid reality, it's a very idea, Buddha and Hindu, that's way back in Eastern, very much, all is mind, right? Zen, it's very Zen concept. But Zen is obviously comes from Buddhism. It's Zen Buddhism. We forget this, right? That Zen is Zen. It's part of the Buddhist culture. Anyway, so that everything is mind. But this is also an Einsteinian idea. Think about it, right? E is equal to mc squared, which means m is equal to E divided by c squared. In other words, matter is energy that's divided or slowed down by a very large number, by a lot, in other words. And we know this, right? When you take like a gas and you start slowing a gas down, like your steam in your kettle, slow that steam down and you get water. Slow it down even more, you get ice, right? So we understand this. But now we're talking about when you slow energy, the raw energy of the universe, right? When you slow that down, you get what we have now. And Einstein said this, that he said, really, everything that we have is a result of our consciousness, of our mind, right? So this is a very universal idea. So I call this fluid reality. When you start to unhook from the description that binds us, right? Because we have all these beliefs and ideas, and that's how we describe the world. And it's a joint cooperative thing. A lot of people misunderstand fluid reality, especially in like law of attraction. They think they can describe the whole world just on their own. Yes, theoretically you could, but you would need massive amounts of energy to do that, right? And so, but when you're in attunement, you obviously now you are in a space where you are doing things and the energy is much less required because you're in attunement. When you're going fighting against things, well, then you need to use more energy, right? So if you want something and that something is in attunement, then it's fairly easy to get, right? So want what the universe wants for you, in other words. Very simple. So there's a ton of moreness here, ton of moreness. And now, again, we're going on this very quickly. We're just touching on it, right? This is what, if you do the program Way-of-Impeccability, then we go into all of these things in detail. And there are practical things that you do that allow you to train yourself to be different. Because it's no good just hearing things. You have to do it. You have to apply it to become it, to be it. That's because without application, it's all meaningless, right? Without application, it's all absolutely meaningless. Yeah. So that's why application is this key here, the nexus, right? You see it's like if you were to say it's the link here between where you go from the sort of theoretical abstract thing in a way almost.
For those of you not on the Zoomcast, you got to see this amazing spreadsheet he has here that we're looking at. I know we keep talking about application, but he's got this all documented out, color coded out, in this beautiful, it's the way of impeccability mind mapping. You have to, don't forget, go to his website to find out more. You can still show it. We still have time, but just remind us how we can reach out to you.
Yeah, nobelia.org/supply.
All right, continue. I wasn't interrupting. I know you've been on a roll, so continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, this mind map, this is a result of a lifetime's worth of work. Yes. Now, not just thinking about things, but applying it, testing it, checking it out, making sure it's there, right? And that everything that I've always done was always connected to being practical. Yes. So, a lot of people say, oh, you're a philosopher. No. I'm a practical philosopher. There's a very big difference, right? Because I don't care for theoretical philosophy. It's kind of like, I don't know, mind masturbation, really, if you think about it. It doesn't get you anywhere. It sounds good intellectually, academically. It's fantastic, but you need to apply it. I saw this and when I was at university, and I left university because of this. I went to psychology class, and the teacher, the psychology professor, was very knowledgeable about psychology, really knew all the different schools. He knew about Freud and Jung and Adler and Maslow and you name it, right? But personally, his life was a mess. And it was a cliche. All the psychology professors, it was like a cliche. Well, they're always a mess personally in their lives. Why? Because they thought intellectually knowing about psychology was enough. But no, it's not. You need to apply it. You need to live it. Just knowing about it, just having it on your database, just having it stored on your hard drive, this is not enough to change your life. But they believe this, and it's a common belief in academia that having the knowledge is enough. It's not. You need to apply it. Without application, all that knowledge of yours is absolutely meaningless, which is why it's a cliche that psychology professors are messed up in their personal lives. And I saw this in my personal life. I said, man, your knowledge is impressive, but I would not like to be you emotionally, attitudinally, psychologically. You're a mess. Sorry, I don't want to be you. You don't impress me as a person, as an individual, right? And this is why when we go around, sometimes you meet people that, wow, this person is really cool because they've got this shit together, as they say, excuse my language, right? But there's no real better term for that. But when you have your stuff together, you now are being able to apply and live and be, and you're not connected to the knowledge. But you get a lot of people that talk fancy, that sound fancy. It's not about that. It's about being able to apply it. So all of this mind map is geared towards application. And really the ultimate application is appropriateness. When you have the ability to be appropriate. A friend of mine asked me, he's actually a philosophy professor.
Okay.
And he said, well, what do you need all this awareness for? Because I'm so focused on awareness, right? Everything's about awareness, the enhancement and development of awareness. I said, because the more you enhance and develop your awareness, the better you are able to be appropriate. And, I get it now. And it clicked for him. It just fell into place. And living in attunement is the ultimate of being able to live appropriately. Because now, when I say, well, what is appropriate, I have to go according to my idea of what's appropriate. But I know my knowledge is very limited. Attunement is living according to universal idea of what is appropriate. And the universe has access to universal information, so I don't. So now I can be appropriate according to what I don't know. Isn't that awesome?
That is. How long did it take to develop this spreadsheet, by the way?
This mind map, you mean? To actually put it together, I don't know, this was a couple of months worth of work, but the content is a lifetime's worth of work. that's over a lifetime. Way of Impeccability, the course, I think I put that together. It took me about a year, maybe a year and a half, I think.
Okay.
And then I have other courses too. I was talking about it earlier. I've got a very specific course for life coaching. And especially if you want to learn to be your own life coach, it's called Hearing and Helping, capital H, Hearing and Helping. And this is very much designed for life coaches, but also for individuals who want to be their own life coach, because you learn to hear. And when you learn to hear, you start to hear the universe. And when you hear the universe, you can live in attunement. So it all works together. So yeah, very powerful courses, very, very programs, because they're programs rather than courses. They're a minimum of 4 months, but typically they take a year, because you want to change your whole life. You're not going to do that on a weekend retreat. Yeah, I know we like this idea that we can do it in a weekend or a week, but no, because it takes time to change habits. Way of Impeccability really, really focuses on habit, and all of what you're seeing on this mind map, all about changing those core habits that we've grown up all along. We got to go. It's 9 o'clock. But yeah, that's a good place to end.
Always a great. You are on par. Syl Sabastian, how do we reach out to you? Oh my goodness.
Nobelia.org/connect. Very easy.
Oh, a pleasure having you here. Great actually visually seeing this map, because it makes so much more sense. And I hope the people that are just on the podcast can tune in, can go to your website to check out this episode to see. And is the spreadsheet on the website too? Or no?
The
That's
mind
part
map?
of the program.
No. I don't share this actually, because there's so much that's unique to me. It's like very precious. So
absolutely.
I don't generally share it out. I don't have it on the thing. It's like just, all right, I'm sharing it on the episodes today. I suppose people could copy and use it, but yeah, it's a lot of proprietary information on here and the way it's all put together. But
it is beautiful, a masterpiece of work, and clearly it's helping so many. Thank you again. #Moreness Project, Nobelia.org. Syl Sabastian, you have a fantastic day, and can't wait to see you next week.
Yes, you too, Joe. You too.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your day, darling. Bye-bye.
Brilliant. You could hear and everything was all right, Beena?
Yes. And it was brilliant. And again, as coming via attunement, I had no idea what's in it, and I was saying about the way of being and actually living it.
Exactly. You were talking about making it your own. That's precisely what the entire show was about. Self-quoting.
Yes.
This is all about making it your own. It's part of that concept. I forgot to say making it your own. So I'm glad you introduced this today's live, today's open in that way, because it absolutely was missing from my presentation there, or my sharing.
No, but it was wonderful. It was wonderful, and I can see how Jill was so interested. And yes, I can use the word kind of very impressed with the work.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to show it and share it, because to see that visual, it changes your understanding and awareness and conception and appreciation of where I'm coming from. But because I just share all the time, it's just a little bit. It's like a stream. You don't get the view of the river, right? So you're just seeing this part. But when you see the mind map, you say, oh my goodness, this is not just a river, but it's connected to the ocean and everything, right? You get to see the whole ecosystem of it. And that's not even the totality of everything, but it's a very good impression of it. And it shows that I'm not coming at this stuff from just, randomly or as a spectator or as a student.
Never been a perception for anyone but myself, I must say, because even without looking at the mind map, one cannot be so thorough and like so much in detail just by just randomly reading books and like that. Yes, people can sometimes they know a lot of jargons, and they can put a lot of reference into that. But saying it from your own is a big, huge deal, and it cannot come just by randomly sharing anything. Your random is no more random, I can say that, because it is deliberate. This is what deliberate living is. If it would be a random thing, then it will be completely in contradiction to what the basic philosophy of Way-of-Impeccability is.
Right. And you were talking about, just speaking things off the cuff, off the top of your head. We had a call, conference call, and we were on it literally up until I started, right? I ended the call and then I went right into doing this, right? And I still said to you and to John, who was on the call with us, said, I have no idea what I'm going to be talking about today, right? And so
Yes.
there's no preparation. Then as I started, okay, I'll talk about the mind map, and being it all fell into place, right? But now, of course, not a single word is scripted. There's no preparation.
Yes.
I'm
Never.
speaking out of my knowledge, of my understanding, my application. And when you really know your stuff, it's easy to talk about. Dale
Exactly.
Carnegie, right? Dale Carnegie, very big, right, in the self-improvement, self-help scheme. Now,
Yes.
a
Yes.
lot of people connect to him in the selling concept, but Dale Carnegie was all about integrity, and so he gets a bit misunderstood, unfortunately, because how to win friends and influence people. If you take that without integrity, it becomes manipulation and insincerity. And of course, people misuse it that way. And of course, it doesn't really work for them. But when you add impeccability to that, which is what he was actually sharing, although he never said it, right? Never said
Mm.
it directly, never used that term. No, I don't think he used the term integrity much that I remember. But nonetheless, right? Uh, Dale Carnegie was, if you really take him in this way from an impeccability and integrity point of view, he's got a lot of value to share. But he also talked about, he had different books about different things. And he was one of very early on, I read him. I don't remember much now, but still, at least some of it stuck and made an impression. One thing that stuck with me is he said, when it comes to public speaking, know what you're talking about. And in his, when he did lectures and stuff or presentations, right? And he had live audiences, he would just pick somebody at random. And he said, they were wanting to learn how to public speak. Oh, I can't talk. I don't know. Now all these problems and excuses and whatever. But then he would ask them about their children, for instance. Oh yes. Can you tell me about the children? And suddenly they gave a whole speech about the children. He said, there, see, you just spoke in public and you did public speaking, no problem. Why?
Mm.
Because they knew the subject. Right? If you want to be able to speak about anything, know your stuff. It's as simple as that. Right? And that's why I can speak about any of the stuff anytime because I know my stuff. It's not theoretical. It's not something I have to remember. No, I know my stuff. Knowing it is different to remembering it. When you know it, you live it, you are it, you be it. And you'll hear we speak about this many topics at the same time, but it's never the same. It's always different. Why? Because we're speaking from our knowledge, from our application, right? And knowledge here being applied knowledge. Yes, the using of it. We're speaking from our practical experience of it. A very different thing. So now let's continue since maybe we'll continue tomorrow. Kind
Yes,
of
we'll continue
hours or
tomorrow, but a bit more on this when you were saying, okay, know yourself.
yeah.
I heard by
Know your
someone who,
stuff, not know yourself.
yes,
Well, know yourself too, but know your stuff.
yes,
Right.
yes.
Well,
This
and
is
then they
something.
go hand in hand. It goes with making it your own. Sorry,
Yes,
Beena, to interrupt you there.
exactly, exactly.
It's very powerful. Know yourself and know your stuff. It's one and the same thing because
Exactly.
of application. When you make it your own, like that quote file, many quotes sometimes say, wow, I can't say it any better way. So I'm repeating the quote, but it doesn't matter because I've made the understanding of it my own. I get it. I connect to it. Yes, I'm using the same words as somebody else because I can't say it any better, right? Or different. And that's just the way that really resonates with me. That's the key. At some point, it becomes your own. I'll quote Don Juan many times. Well, not many times, but I guess relatively frequently sometimes. But I'm not really quoting him. I'm actually saying my own understanding. I might say as a quote, but the only reason I remember it is because I've made it my own. Otherwise, it doesn't stick with me. Yeah? I
Yes.
know very few quotes. A lot of people have read a lot like me, and they can quote from here and everywhere. I can't do that. I only can quote things because they have relevance and pertinence, or I quote it in my own words because I've made it my own. That's always what I did when I read. I stopped when I didn't get something. It's like, wait a second. It's not just whether it made sense or not. It's whether or not I had to accept it as a belief. I don't do that. I say, I just gotta take your word for this. I never, even once I'm massively trust someone like Don Juan. But at first, like these four enemies. When I read that, I said, man, this is really cool. But that doesn't mean that I accepted it. This is Don Juan's idea of these four natural enemies. What is there to back it up and base it on? Yeah, just his perception. There's nothing that substantiates it necessarily. It may or may not be so. They're cool ideas, but we have to be very careful. Just because it's cool and impressive doesn't make it fact, doesn't make it valuable, doesn't make it usable, doesn't make it actual. Yeah. So this is something very key when this is part of making it your own. It's very hard for me to make these four natural enemies. You've never heard me talk about this or anything similar to this. Yeah. Because I can't verify it as an actuality. It sounds good, and yes, okay, it sort of matches, but it doesn't mean that it is so. There may be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or maybe, it's not necessarily an issue. Maybe one of them doesn't apply. See? So we have to be careful. Right? And that's when it comes to application, thinking things through to the end, perspective shifting to multiple perspectives. And we add capital trust into this. Yes, I trust that Don Juan is saying what he believes to be our value. Does not necessarily make it valuable. Yeah? Now, many things are self-evident sensibilities. That's what I strive for. I strive for self-evident sensibilities. These four natural enemies of a person of knowledge aren't necessarily self-evident sensibilities. Right, Beena? I mean, we can see, yes. I mean, I guess fear and clarity and power, yes, they are. Old age, I'm not so sure. But that doesn't mean simply because those three are relatively self-evident that there aren't more. Yes. I mean, I would say honesty or dishonesty could be a massive enemy. Yeah. That's not mentioned here. I see this as an obstacle. You could overcome fear. I mean, I know people that they don't really care, but they're not self-honest. And as a result, they never get to have any clarity. See, so it's kind of in between fear and clarity. Right?
Yes.
I mean, you could argue that say, well, they're dishonest because they fear the awful truth. Okay, then it is. But I think as a subsection there, it is important. Because they might not necessarily fear the awful truth, but they may just be avoided because it's hassle and work and complication. It isn't necessarily fear, see? When they don't have a fearful feeling, it's just like, it's too much bother. Right? See? I mean, you could technically say, all right, well, you're fearing effort. But I think that self-honesty and dishonesty as a enemy is very powerful. But like I said, you could still subvert it all into fear. So these are pretty good. But I just wanted to make the point. I'm not. These have been something that have stayed with me all my life, and I think about them on a regular basis. But that doesn't mean that I fully accept them automatically. No. Trust but verify. Always trust but verify. Yeah.
Yes.
Beena?
Yes.
Any more to add?
No, nothing.
Okay. So we'll get to the other more is more now on. Well, we're still dealing with clarity and so it's cool stuff. We'll do the enemies of a person of knowledge. We'll continue with this. Well, what's today? Today's Friday, right?
Friday. Yes.
On Sunday. Because Saturdays is how we don't do the opens or the lives on Saturdays. I suppose we could if we have time, but usually we're doing other things on Saturday. Catching up with inventory, which we did earlier in the week, you see, because we got a bit behind. We skipped last Saturday. And so that's why we missed the 2, 3, I think, I don't know. We missed a bunch because of this, doing inventory. But it's all good. It's all good. Now, doing inventory isn't just a physical thing. We need to do inventory internally as well. When you make things your own, and as I was saying to Jill, yes, that mind map is very powerful, but it's also connected to the dictionary of power. And in Way of Impeccability, it's not about connecting to the Way of Impeccability dictionary of power. Yes, there is such a thing. But your task, before you even get to see a dictionary of power, is to create your dictionary of power. It's always the individual's dictionary of power. And that dictionary of power is an inventory of what is important to you and what matters to you, what makes a difference to in your life. And it is especially a inventory of usability. It's very key.
Yes.
Yeah, because the way you are putting those concepts into your dictionary of power, and if we go and look at the mind map again, let me pull it up here. I want to just emphasize this. It's very important. Also documents, where's my mind map now? Where's my mind map? Remember where? Oh, it's in pictures. I was going to say, why can't I find it now? There we go. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. And take it. All right. Let's go screen share again. All right. So now I want to look at this mind map through the lens of usability. And since we are doing a capital R reading, and this live is about the capital R reading of Don Juan, and as written by Carlos. Right? We're getting Don Juan through the lens of Carlos, which we have to always keep in mind, always maintain that perspective. Right? But again, some people got all hung up, at least in the beginning, in the early years. Is Don Juan real or not? Who cares? What do I care if Don Juan is real or not? It's totally irrelevant. Is what is being said, whether he's a real person, is being quoted, or as a character, it's whether it's valuable or not. Is what he's saying valuable? Yes, to me it's very valuable. Is it usable? Well, all right. Some of it is. It may be valuable. I don't know because it's not usable. But let's zoom in here a little bit and look at these. Right now, these are all in the noun form, right? Appropriateness, awareness, attunement. Yeah. Because when you have it in this format of the way this is, it becomes usable. Attunement, just the term itself, right, has a self-evident sensibility to it. Now, maybe if you just heard the term attunement completely out of context here, right? If you just walked up to somebody in the street and said attunement, what does it mean? They might put it in a musical connection or whatever. But the fact that you're asking them what it means, if they think about it a bit, they may say, well, I'm assuming because you asked me, it's not just like, okay, being in tune with music, it maybe means a bit more. And so the term attunement automatically starts to put you into that spiritual, greater connection, connecting to the universe, whatever. Yeah? The term is somewhat self-evident, same with alignment. Anomalies, okay, this maybe takes a little more, right? But it's capital A anomalies. Oh, okay, capital A anomalies. All right. See, so some do require a bit more, but still, typically, right? Once you have an idea, even basically what it is, then you know. And I like the concept terms like this: active without agenda. See, self-evident, active without agenda. Now you might say, but why would I want to do that? All right, it's a different conversation. But still, these terms all lead to usability. Yes, when you really understand what they're about, you have the discernment and awareness of what they're about, and you can get into that usability. Again, look at this when you get into the detail, right? When well, let's stick with attunement here, and we have alignment. We get adventure, artistry, aspirations. Oh, artistry. Oh, adventure. Oh, this is very usable. This is not just usable but useful. And anomalies are the universal language. It's access to universal information. Holy moly, holy moly. to understand the language of the universe, the language of God, the language of the world, the language of Allah, Krishna, language of spirit, the language of your subconscious, language of your higher consciousness, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. It's a language. Where it's from, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. This is just a convenience. The issue is that it is a language. It's a language that contains universal information. Wow! Of course, this is useful. Yes? And usable. Yeah? Train the brain. This is emphasis. I don't have the term emphasis on here, right? Because it's actually here under train the brain. Train the brain through emphasis and self-quoting. These are very particular attentions, you see? And attention itself is emphasis, of course. And it has to be conscious and deliberate, you see? And when you connect attention and appreciation and conscious and deliberate, you see that bridge there. This is powerful, powerful. And look at appreciation. Where's the usefulness and the usability? Joy, grace, superlatives of you. Right? What more do you want? Right there. Right there. And then, of course, this really, it needs to take this and loop back like a big looping back arrow coming all the way back to attunement. But it is, you see, it's connected through the middle here, right? And if you pay attention to these connecting lines, they have arrows. And you see from appropriateness, it goes down and then it goes up as well, right? Into this overview here, right? A grand scheme, which is universal perspective, right? A meaning of life, etc. And then it also goes, goes kind of down and then sideways, you see, because awareness and attunement, they're connected by intent and impeccability, see? So they loop around, but then they move down through application, through self-conception, and into your character. And you see how all these things, they loop, you see? And then it goes kind of out, you see, the arrows go out, and then they go down furthermore, and it all connects here, right? Now, I said more here, but moreness would actually be better, but it's capital M more. But moreness would be a better term, right? And so this is so much here, and we've got strategy, emphasis, but you pay attention to how it all works together. It's very, very cool. And again, the purpose of me sharing this mind map is to say that we're not reading Don Juan as students or as followers. No. Huh? We're reading Don Juan as appliers, yes? As livers, as doers, as those who have our own knowing. And we are going to look at Don Juan and say, is this of value to me or not? Because, yes, Don Juan has a lot to share. Don Juan is very impressive. Don Juan is awesome. But that doesn't mean I must just buy everything that he's saying. Yeah? Now, I don't know if there's anything that I ever came across which I can say, yeah, sorry, this doesn't add up. This doesn't make sense. This is not right. I don't think there's such a thing. But just because I agree with everything he says or use, it doesn't mean I can agree with it or I can see that there's value and sense to it. That doesn't mean I'm going to use it all. And the power of plants is one such example, because it's contextually specific. It's contextually specific. We have to be very, very aware of this. This is perspective shift, right? You have to really have that full comprehension and understand this, not take anything for granted. It's here. But I want to just emphasize this, right? That we're coming at Don Juan from a very particular perspective. We're coming at it from the perspective of capital R reading, which is going more. And it's providing more. And I'm showing the more that not just me, but Beena also, because Beena lives this too. Yes? All of this here, just look at the application. You've got authenticity and accountability right there, yeah? Is Beena authentic?
For me, yes.
Oh, yes, of course. Duh. Yes. And we can go a little bit when we have authenticity. Look, I even added nobility in here, right? Self-perception, owning real self, innocence.
You're not sharing screen by the
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
But anyway, I think
hang on. It's very, I know. I won't be long. But this is very potent what I was saying. When we apply Beena, see? Application. Well, I'm making the point that you live this, because look, here we go, authenticity. Does nobility apply to Beena? Yes. Self-perception? Yes. Owning of the real self? Yes. Innocence and sophistication? Yes. Is Beena accountable? Absolutely. Yeah. Does Beena make the best of it? Yes, generally. Does she make it her own? Yes. End of day, think through as a tool for application, incremental change. Right? You get to your real self. Yeah. See? Accountability, you go to choice, ethics, integrity, life responsibility. All apply to Beena. All apply to Beena. Of course, awareness, you could say, yeah, well, Beena aware. He's still aware. I don't think I'm very aware. But, compared to the universe, my awareness is nothing. But compared to unawareness, my awareness is something. Yeah? So I don't think that I'm aware or unaware. I just know this, that relative to the universe, I'm completely unaware. Relative to nothing, I'm aware. Okay? And that applies to same thing. When you just think of your own self as a way of being, you say, well, compared to the universe, I'm nothing. But compared to nothing, I'm something. Okay? That's important. Now, also, there was another reason for sharing this, Beena, and well, I guess I'll leave the mind map up. What did Don Juan say about the person of knowledge? Right? What was his understanding? Right? What did he share, like as a definition? Yeah? You remember?
Yes, a person who defeat the four enemies.
Well, before that, he said it's a person who has gone as far as they can in
Yes.
unraveling the secrets of knowledge and power.
Yes.
Well, this is me going as far as I can in unraveling the secrets. Have I finished? No. This mind map isn't. It's not. It's not a end, right? Like I said, emphasis could probably be emphasized even more, right, than it is. I have it just right? That emphasis is here under awareness, probably. Yeah. I mean, anomalies, they are emphasis. That's what anomalies are. So maybe I can make a link here between anomalies and attention, and put okay, it's spirit, but have it like with emphasis there, yeah, or conscious and deliberate emphasis. See, that is emphasis. Train the brain. I'm just saying, okay, there's 3 little blue and the side's got 2, so I suppose I could add another little blue one here. Emphasis, right? Because I think emphasis needs to have its own little square, right? I mean, it's under train the brain, but it's then I could put emphasis here in the little blue connected to attention, and then connect emphasis with a little line to train the brain, right? And again to self-coaching, they all kind of go together. See, but my point is that this is not an endpoint. It's not static. It evolves all the time. Why? Because you go as far as you can. It's not an end to being a person of knowledge. I don't even know if I am or not. I have no idea, and I will absolutely refuse to say whether I am or not. Because how do you know? And the moment you think you know, then to me, I think you stop being a person of knowledge. Yeah? You're a perpetual aspirant. You're perpetually on this task. Now, some externally may say, well, you kind of know stuff. This is obvious from your mind map. Yes, that is so, but that doesn't necessarily make me a person of knowledge, at least not internally. Right? I like to keep that open. I don't want to ever fall into that trap of thinking that I am, and I never will, no matter how much I know. It's not about how much I know, it's about how much I apply. Yes, I mean, how much I've made my own. And obviously, this mind map is about making it your own. One more point that I want to share about this mind map. Jill asked, is it on the website? I don't want to publish it, but I do want to and will at some point print it, publish it as a poster, a big poster, almost a life-size poster, probably about 5 foot big, right? That you can put up on your wall. Because I think this to have as a poster prominently where you can see, I'll sell it in all different sizes, but the big one is the most important one, where you can see this every day as a reminder, right? And you're sitting there and you're watching TV, and TV is boring and your mind strays a bit, or you're just in a reflective mood, or you're a bit lost in your life, and you kind of come and you stare at this, right? You're going to be looking and you're going to find things. You know what? I forgot about thinking things through to the end. Look, right there as I went, I just said, okay, what's going to grab my eye? Okay, thinking things through to the end, grab my eye, right? I kind of forgot about doing that. I got to think. See, these are applications. Right? deliberate conscious awareness. Oh, yeah, I've been focusing on conscious awareness maybe, but not so much on the deliberateness. Yeah. Self-empowerment, personal power. What does that mean? Yeah. Self-confidence, motivate, essentials, right? So, and then you start working on things again, because even though you can apply this, sometimes things get neglected, and then you got to refresh them. And I think this mind map as a refresher mechanism, this will be very, very powerful. So this is something that is on my to-do list, to publish this as a big poster, and then some smaller stuff. It won't be too small, because then you can't really see it. So it needs to be where you can kind of walk by it and see it, yes, and see it from a distance, right? And I think this will be very transformative, to use, because of course all of these concepts, it's about making them your own. They're not capacity trust. Oh yes, what's it again? You have to go to your dictionary of power and go look up capacity trust. But when you do, oh wow, or living as a spirit warrior now in the self-conception, right? Where we are now. See, it's from application we get our self-conception, and then we get character. So self-conception, spirit warrior is a self-conception of character. One of many. You can have many different self-conceptions, right? It's part of way of impeccability. Because this is the way of impeccability mind map, not the A+ mind map, which is different. All right, so I just wanted to add that all in there. Very important live today, or open, as we like to call them, sharing very important things. Yes, and again, this mind map. It relates to our capital reading of Don Juan and Carlos, because this is what we are bringing to bear on our capital reading, right, Beena?
Yes.
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 And it's all about adding that moreness, that depth, that connectivity, coming at things from multiple perspectives, always. Yeah. I mean, that perspective shifting, really, if I edit this at ever, I would say perspective shifting to multiple perspectives with multiple emphasis, like thinking things through to the end. See, you know what, Beena? I didn't put it here. Oh, I'm not screen sharing, but I didn't write to the end in all caps. That was something that came a bit later, and I realized how necessary and important and essential it is to absolutely emphasize that to the end, and perspective shifting to multiple perspectives. It was like automatic to me, but when I saw that, when people heard this, they didn't always grasp this, how significant it is, right? Okay, thinking things through to the end, and people, they think it through, but they don't go to the end. That last step can make all the difference sometimes, change everything. Very, very key. All right, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I love this. Any comments? Any questions, Beena?
No, not right now. Ready to go. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And if you are going to watch us recorded on YouTube, please do click subscribe, like, and share with others, and make a comment. If you have any question, if you have any comment, anything which you find valuable here, please do share with us, because this is how you're going to tell the algorithm that this is something good. They are doing something good here. So please tell the algorithm that we are doing good, and it is valuable, not only for us, but of course for you and for others. By training your algorithm, you are providing data, and data is the new currency. Please pay attention to what you are actually participating in.
Emphasis is the new currency. Emphasis. When you train your algorithm online, this is mathematical, but that same process works in life via emphasis. Why that mind map, why the dictionary of power is so important. It's emphasis. The more you emphasize that, the more you bring it into your life.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. See you guys on Sunday with capital R reading of Don Juan's sharings via Carlos. And this is something very special. Again, I share many times that this is a very special reading for me, because this was the first time, I am doing this capital R reading with the clear intent of that I'm going to meet Don Juan. This is something very interesting for me, because intent is everything. All your deeds depends on your intent. That's why clarity of intent is like a foundation pillar of way-of-impeccability. You cannot achieve anything. You cannot have anything. You cannot acquire any wisdom, knowledge, awareness if you don't have clarity of intent. And even if you will acquire, it is not going to help you by any means. So please
That's
pay
why
attention
way
to
of
that.
impeccability, it starts with clarity of intent.
Exactly.
And when you listen to Don Juan, he talks a lot about clarity and he talks a lot about intent, but he doesn't put it together like that. Clarity of intent.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your mind map.
Oh,
Thank you
absolute pleasure.
for sharing the interview.
We're gonna be doing more on this. We're gonna be doing more on this. And
Yes.
we'll also share more details about the TV show when it's, you know, we signed the agreement, you know, the contract, and now we have to do all the work and get the title and the times and practice, and we have training to do and a lot of technical stuff involved because we work with producers, you know, sophisticated stuff. So that's very cool. So we'll share more as it comes.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.
I'm going to call you.
Bye bye, everybody. Yeah. All right.